Mordechai Kedar is a renowned Israeli scholar of Arabic literature and a lecturer at Bar-Ilan University in Israel. He is also fearless, and as a fluent Arabic speaker, regularly appears on Arab television defending Israel. And folks, he does not hold his peace. Take a look at Dr. Kedar discussing the Jewish claim to Jerusalem in this now famous clip from Al Jazeera.
القدس مدينتنا إلى أبد الأبدين ولا شأن لا للجزيرة ولا لأحد في مدينة القدس. نقطة، هي مدينة لليهود فقط، ليس لأحد أي شأن بمدينة القدس.
يعني هل تريد أن تقول بأن كلامك هذا يعني بأن المفاوضات التي تتم بين الفلسطينيين والإسرائيليين تتم بناء على الأمر الواقع الذي تتحدث به الآن يا سيد مردخاي كيدار؟
يا أخي أنا أدعوك للقدس لتشوف بأم عينك كيف القدس أصبحت مدينة زاهرة بعد أن كانت خاربة تحت أيدي العرب حتى 67. نحن بنينا هذه المدينة من جديد، وهي الآن مفتوحة للمسيحيين وللمسلمين ولليهود على حد سواء، كما لم تكن أبدا تحت سيطرة الإسلام، لأن الإسلام أقصى اليهود من القدس والمسيحيين أيضا.
طيب في بعض الأوقات أنا أريدك أن تعطيني جوابا، تعطيني جوابا.
As you can see, Dr. Mordechai Kedar is a truth teller, and I had the pleasure of sitting down with him recently in one of the more memorable places that I've ever done an interview, in the tunnels beneath the Western Wall in the old city of Jerusalem. Take a look. Well, Dr. Kedar, thanks so much for joining us today, and man, I can't think of a better place to interview you about the history of Jerusalem, the Jewish people's historical claim to this city, than being here in the Hasmonean Hall beneath the old city of Jerusalem from the Second Temple period. So first of all, a great setting for our interview.
Thank you very much. Here in Jerusalem, you actually live inside history, inside the history book, which is actually around you, engraved into those walls.
Yeah, it really is. When you come here in a place like this, it comes alive for you. And the interesting thing about it is that there is a real effort today, Dr. Kedar, to deny the claim of the Jewish people to Jerusalem, to even deny that there was a temple on the Temple Mount.
For them, the mere existence of the State of Israel and the Jewish ownership of Jerusalem and presence on the Temple Mount is a theological threat on Islam.
Yeah.
Before it is anything connected to territory or to national issues or legal issues or any other issue. It's first of all, and before everything, it is a religious threat on Islam, because they cannot fathom the fact that Judaism comes back to life in the Jewish capital, which was Jewish capital for 3,000 years, way before Washington, D.C. became the capital of the Americans, Paris became the capital of the French, London of the British, and so forth. Jerusalem is the most ancient capital in the world. Yet, unfortunately, our enemies, are encouraged by states, by politicians who still do not recognize Jerusalem as the capital of the Jews, of the only Jewish state in the world, the State of Israel. And this encourages them.
Yeah. What are some of the claims that they make? And we're talking about not only Hamas and jihadis, but the Palestinian Authority, who is supposedly Israel's moderate partner for peace in the eyes of the world. They are deep into this temple denial movement, aren't they?
They want to detach the Jews from Jerusalem in order to extract our heart from this place. And they know that once they have Jerusalem, they will have the whole country, the whole Palestine. And they actually show it. Let me show you a scarf which they use in their demonstrations. I think I have it in my pocket. Yes, here it is. This is produced by the PA, by the Palestinian Authority.
Mahmoud Abbas's Palestinian Authority, who the United
on one
States
side it says Al-Quds Lana, Jerusalem is ours. When was Jerusalem a capital of any Arab or Islamic state? Never, not even for one day in history. But on the other side of the scarf, and this is a scarf, they show the whole country, Palestine, the whole land, from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free, as they say.
Yeah.
means they see the connection.
So
If
there
they
is
have-
no Israel.
Not at all. Where is Israel? Israel is in the sea.
Israel's in-
In a week should go to the fish.
Right.
So, and they see the connection between having Jerusalem and having the whole country. So, for them, there is no Israel at all.
No.
And
It's much deeper than Jerusalem.
and they take advantage of the fact that the world has not yet recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and no embassy is in Jerusalem.
Talk a bit about the history of Jerusalem. I guess you would say more recent, before 1967, when the Jewish people in the Six-Day War reclaimed Jerusalem. But in the years before that,
Well,
under Muslim Ottoman rule, Jerusalem was a backwater.
Jerusalem was occupied by Jordan, illegal occupation, between 1948 and 1967. It was like 19 years, more or less 7,000 days. The Jordanians today claim that Israel should establish a Palestinian state on the West Bank, or what was called the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and its capital should be East Jerusalem. Why didn't they, the Jordanians, when they were occupying the West Bank and East Jerusalem, why didn't they establish a Palestinian state when they could? They had 7,000 opportunities to do it every day. What did they know those days about the existence or non-existence of a Palestinian people and its right over Jerusalem, which they don't know today? Okay, so this is some kind of inconsistency within the Arab world, the Islamic world. As long as it's not in Jewish hands, they couldn't care less about it. There is a majority of Jews in Jerusalem in the 19th century. Okay, so later.
That's
Jews,
right. There was a Jewish majority in this city, in Jerusalem, even before Theodore Herzl and the Zionist movement really took off.
Sure.
And always through the centuries, even after the Titus and.
Yeah, and they couldn't care
Always.
less about this because as long as there is no Jewish sovereignty, there is no problem.
Coming up, more on Jerusalem from the amazing Western Wall tunnels with Dr. Mordechai Kedar. It's The Watchman. It's Christians United for Israel only on TBN. Don't move. We have ISIS talking about making Jerusalem the capital of its caliphate. How does Jerusalem loom large in the minds of radical Islamists?
Well, they say it out loud, they don't even hide, that they should establish an Islamic caliphate all over the Arab and the Islamic world is a preamble to an Islamic caliphate all over the world, and its capital should be Jerusalem. That's what they claim, that Jerusalem should be the capital of the Islamic caliphate. We heard it in Egypt, we heard it in many other places. Usually preachers who think like the Muslim Brotherhood and the Muslim Brotherhood derivatives, which is Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State.
It all comes out of the Brotherhood.
All come
They're the granddaddy.
from the hothouse of the Muslim Brotherhood ideology. And they say it out loud. They don't even try to hide it. And yes, this is what they claim, that Jerusalem should be the capital of the Islamic Caliphate.
As people of faith, maybe in the United States watching this show, a Christian, a Jew, why should they care about this delegitimization of Jerusalem as a capital of the Jewish people and the Islamicizing, if that's a word, of Jerusalem? Why should people care about this?
Look, it's the theory of circles. Jerusalem is the inner circle. When Jerusalem will fall into their hands, Israel will be the next circle. When Israel falls, the waves will go to Europe, and after Europe falls into their hands, the Atlantic will be found as not wide enough to keep America away from these waves as well. Because the encouragement which they will have from the fall of Jerusalem into their hands, whether by the United Nations, the United will give them, or the world will press Israel to give them Jerusalem, they will be so encouraged that they can take the whole world. And because this is, and this will be the, I would say, the pinnacle, where the world will succeed or not to stand in front of the wave of Islamism, which will be encouraged if, God forbid, Israel is forced by the Western world mainly to give up on Jerusalem, its ancient capital.
And it's such a sad thing because Israel is the first line of defense for Western civilization and is really all that's holding back the wolves of jihad from coming to the West.
Israel is a front bastion of the West against the waves which are motivated by the hatred to the West. Because the West is permissive, the West is valueless, the West is materialistic, and this is why the West should be toppled. Israel is the first bastion. If Israel survives and sustains against that wave of Islamism, Europe, America are protected. Much better than if Israel collapses, because the collapse of Israel will encourage them to continue and fast.
And how frustrating and short-sighted is it that the West, European and American leaders, are pressuring Israel to divide Jerusalem. As an Israeli, that must frustrate you, and a student of history, that must frustrate you a great deal.
Look, the Al-Aqsa, which appears in the Quran, Jerusalem doesn't appear in the Quran, but the Al-Aqsa appears. Originally, Al-Aqsa was between Mecca and Taif, inside Saudi Arabia today, in the Arab Peninsula. They imported the Al-Aqsa to Jerusalem 50 years later in 682 in order to convince the people, the Muslims, to come to pilgrimage to Jerusalem and not go to Mecca to hear the propaganda against the caliph in Damascus. This is the whole story of Jerusalem in Islam. It is a concoction, and today they consider it as some kind of a basic belief in Islam only because they believe that Islam came to the world to replace Judaism. And if Jews come back to Jerusalem, it means that Judaism is alive and kicking. What will be with Islam? Who originally, according to its own presentation, came to the world to turn Judaism into null and void.
Well, they have failed in their plans because Jerusalem is alive and kicking, Israel is alive and kicking, and Dr. Kedar, we're so grateful that we have you to lay it all out for us, the truth about this city, Jerusalem. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Great to have you with us. Thank you.